Hey, bestie, and welcome to episode 9 of the Plobcast. As always, this is not for little ears. This podcast is not for small ears. Also, it's extra not for small ears this week because we have been sent in some spicier stories that I literally could not tell on TikTok, similar to the ones we told before where I played that video for you guys. We're going to buckle up. Just buckle up is the easiest way to put that. Also, I just want to say I am recording this before vacation because I am actually leaving on Thursday, so I'm going to be scheduling this in advance. Usually I do them literally day of. I will record the Plobcast all in one take. I have a little pause button, though, but that way I can take sips of drinks and stuff. But I do it all in one take, convert it to MP3, and upload it immediately after. There is no editing on here, so you really do get uncut. But this is my first time pre-recording. It's still going to all be in one take, and then I will schedule it for Thursday. This is my first time scheduling one, so if I'll make a post on TikTok, that way people can let me know if you guys don't get this on Thursday. But yeah, should be Thursday morning on everything. But I wanted to do that little disclaimer in case somebody sends me a message with a question or something, because I do get some questions to talk about on here. So if somebody sends it to me and then it's like, why is it on Thursday? If you asked me a question after Tuesday, it's just because I didn't get a chance because I had already pre-recorded it, but I will answer it on Mondays. So I'm just going to jump right in, and there is a comment I'm going to read verbatim to you guys because this comment was left, and I was like, this is literally the prime example of what 2020 fandom was like. If you were not around for 2020 fandom, TikTok suddenly blew up. I was still recently new to it, but it was blowing up because people were stuck at home in COVID, and suddenly fandom space became popular. It was no longer, ashamed to be, it was actually cool basically to be into anime and cosplay. There's a lot of people that are no longer in anime and cosplay fandom, especially cosplay. They left because they only did it during COVID. Not a lot of them weren't even watching the animes. They were literally just like buying whatever costume was popular because it was a trend to do cosplay too. TikTok even had like a whole competition thing at one point where like the most back in 2020 in 2021 there was this thing where like they would do like 2 major hashtags of the day or whatever, and then like everybody would follow under it and they would do like that hashtag of the day and stuff, and it was a whole thing. There was a whole thing going on within fandom. Video games was big. That's why people were buying PS5s from freaking scalpers for like $1,500 and all this kind of shit. The only reason I was able to get a PS5 during the 2020 big boom was because, once again, former GameStop employee, while I did not work that season, because I worked every season, I did not do 2020 just because I had a severely compromised immune system. I actually had COVID almost kill me because my body could not fight. It was a long story. We'll get into that here in a minute, but that's not the point. But I had so many friends that still worked there, like full-time, like my old manager. She literally she held one for me. Luckily, she does not work at a GameStop anymore. She can't get in trouble, but she was the sweetest, nicest. She was actually a first-time mom. We were pregnant at the same time, and I helped her with a lot of stuff because she didn't have a lot of family help. Her baby daddy, because they're not together anymore, but her baby daddy, they were at the time. He was not the best. So to repay me, she got the PS5, which the only reason I bought the PS5 because I was going to wait was there was a time when my entire household got COVID, right? My husband, my little baby, because Bruce was sorry, that was January 2021 technically, but yeah, January 2021. My youngest was only 7 months old. I had COVID really bad too, and somehow my oldest son did not, and he was 5. So my little 5-year-old, and he was the sweetest, kindest, and we didn't have anybody that could like come take him, because being military, they had moved us to Georgia, and we were away from people, and so we were just kind of have to suffer through it. And I had to have my 5-year-old. We put he ended up being in a room, like the other bedroom, the guest room, and I had to put like a baby monitor, and he was the sweetest. I was like I was literally wearing an N95 mask and stuff whenever I would help him with stuff, and I would have to have him basically play in the hallway between the rooms or play in his room with the baby monitor. I would be super careful when I made his food and everything, and I felt bad, but he, without even being asked, was helping. If he saw that like I needed something, he would literally go get it. He would he would wear a mask and like talk to his brother when he was crying, because sometimes, fed changed everything, and he just, he's sick, so he didn't feel good. So he was fussy, and like he went above and beyond to help. He was constantly, I needed a passy, or I needed a new diaper. He'd run and grab it for me and everything. He was so sweet. I needed a blanket. Instead of me going to get up, he'd like, no, mommy, I get it for you. He'd bring us snacks and stuff from the kitchen. Like, he didn't know how to cook or anything at 5, but like a bag of chips or a soda or something. He did all of that for 3 days straight, because my husband got over it in 3 days. Like, my husband has got a God sent immune system. That's how my son is too. Like, he does not get sick. And my baby was over it in 4 days. I was the one that ended up in the hospital on a vent and everything. After a few days, my body just could not keep fighting it. But, after a couple of days, my husband got better. He was able to help take care of everything. My baby gets better. And I ended up in the ER on a vent. And he was super helpful to my husband while he was, at home dealing with the baby and my son by himself while I was in an event, because we didn't have somebody at the time to, watch them, for my husband to stay in the hospital with me. And I did not want, he knew, like, when I went to the ER, because I was fading in and out of consciousness, like, by the time I get to there, I literally fell onto the floor, and they were doing a sternum rub, because I was in the ER waiting room, and I fell onto the concrete floor out of the wheelchair. They were doing a sternum rub, and I wasn't even waking up for that. Like, the nurse bounced my head off the freaking concrete. I'll never forget that, because she flipped me over, because that was back when you had nurses that shouldn't have a license that were, working because they were doing that scam school that got exposed, a couple of years ago, where there was all these nurses that were not actually nurses that were getting licensed because the college was selling the courses because of COVID. They were selling, like, basically you could pay all this money, and they would say you went to nurse school, and you would cram for your test. You would take the NCLEX, and then people would cram just the questions for that test. That way they could pass the test, and bam, you have a license, even though you've never done any of the actual schoolwork. Anyways, I was bad off, and I had told him, like, before, like, when we were on our way to the hospital, I said, if they put me on a vent, do not, unless I am going to die, do not bring the kids into the hospital. I would, with everything that's going on, do not have them coming in there. I do not want to risk them getting sick. So unless I'm to the point where I'm going to die and you're saying goodbye, do not bring them in there. Do not risk my baby's health. With everything that was going on, because it was super bad at that time, do not risk bringing them in, because my boys were too young to have the vaccine at that time. They did not have the kids vaccine out yet, and I did not want to risk my infant and my young son, especially because, they had already just had it and were still recovering. So, like, well, my oldest didn't, but, my infant had just had it and was still recovering, and it was too high of a risk. I said, no, I'd rather be in the hospital by myself. So I was on a vent. It was a whole situation. I did obviously, get better and recover. But because my 5-year-old had done so much and went above and beyond and all this stuff that he did not have to do, because we kept telling him, we were like, you don't have to help. I never want to be that parent that, like, makes their kid basically take care of the house and do everything for them. That oldest daughter kind of syndrome is what they call it, but can happen to sons too. And I was like, no, that is not your responsibility. But he would insist. He'd be like, no, mommy, I want to help. He's always been like that. He's still like that now. He always talks about how he wants to go into a career helping people. He used to say he wanted to be a cop, and now he says he wants to be a firefighter. But I knew he really wanted the Spider-Man game on the PS5 because he kept seeing commercials for it. So I called in a favor with my old boss, and she helped me get a PS5 for, like, actual regular price, like at GameStop. So that is the only reason I bought a PS5, only a few months after they came out, because usually I wait like a year or so before I buy any new system, sometimes 2 years. Let everybody else figure out the bugs, let the price get knocked down. But because of that, I think I spent like $700 because I got, like, the Spider-Man with the 2 remotes, the fancy red remote and everything. Anyways, let's get to this comment, because Yeah, 2020 fandom was insane if you were not around. That's the sum up of it is, everybody was suddenly into nerdy stuff and all this stuff. There was a lot of mean girl mentality too. People were like bullying each other, sending death threats, all kinds of insane shit in fandom that, didn't happen before. It either didn't happen before or it was such a small percentage of those kind of incidents that happened before within fandom. As someone who's been in it for 30 years, anybody, because like I said, I've been in it since birth. You can ask older nerds too, like the ones that are 40, 50, 60 years old. You ask an older nerd that's been a nerd their whole life, they'll tell you gaming fandom, anime, cosplay fandom and stuff was nowhere near as bad until 20. It was cringy. There was a lot of like cringe and like gross stuff like yaoi paddles and stuff that went on, but it was not as mean coded. And I've noticed the only people who ever say that it isn't worse, like anytime you hear somebody say it isn't worse, because there are people be like, oh no, it's always been this, are the mean girls, are the people who are bullying others and being super competitive, and oh, you can't cosplay this because I cosplay this character, oh, you can't cosplay Sailor Moon because I cosplay Sailor Moon. It's like, there's thousands of Sailor Moon cosplayers, shut the fuck up, stop ruining fandom. It's I call it the clean version of a plob, or a clean version of a flob. They shower, but they still are ruining fandom. Just instead of being stinky and gross, they're ruining it by being elitists, by being the mean girls, by being bullies, and just cunts. There is no nice way to say it. By being cunts. And I've literally, people talk about it and about how fandom got worse after 2020 because of the boom, and how all these people that typically wouldn't have been in the nerdy stuff, now that it was popular, were, and how they were ruining this space. They were being assholes and threats and all, and bullying, and they would literally send followers over, and if you didn't do it the way they liked it, or that all this crap, it was such a mess. It was such a mess. There's two big cosplayers that I know. There's actually several, but there's two that come to mind when I think of this. They got into cosplay in, I believe it was 2017. They are traditionally attractive. They actually have several spam accounts that they use to bully and harass people within different communities in the fandom, including cosplay and stuff. And they are known for fucking with people just for fun. They have sent one of their former moderators. They knew the moderator had a deathly allergy, and just for no reason other than just to be a cunt, because they thought it would be funny, they said, oh, let me send you a package. They get this moderator's address, and they send a package that has something in it that they are deathly allergic to, because they thought it would be funny. That is the level of psycho these assholes are, which is ironically one of their friends that they're pretty publicly friends with is also a mean girl that steals everybody's content and is well known for being a bully and uses spam accounts so that they don't risk their own account. The people I was talking about a second ago actually ended up losing one of their accounts because of their bullying, and then lied about it. And it was like, oh no, it's because people were bullying us. It's like, no, it's because you were well known for bullying. Everybody knows. And their followers, they'll send their followers after people. They'll go into Discord and be like, hey, everybody go like falsely report and bully and send threats, so that people have screenshot it and snitched on them before, but a lot of people don't speak up against them anymore. I've dealt with it myself because I exposed some messages and stuff. But yeah, a lot of people don't call them out anymore because their following will come after you. They've cost a lot of people accounts. Ironically, if somebody calls them out, they will then falsely accuse of whoever was calling them out of doing everything that they do. And it's like, what the heck? But yeah, like I said, one of their friends, ironically, that's a content thief that just, is always stealing for other creators and whatnot. They, ironically, they're one of the ones who every single time someone points out that fandom has gotten worse since 2020, aka when they joined it, they'll go, oh no, it's not. Remember yaoi paddles and glomping, whatever, and all that stuff. No. It's always been this bad. And it's like, No, it's not. It got worse in 2020 when people like you joined. There's actually some people that went to high school with that person who came forward talking about how they would bully nerds in high school. So I think it's ironic that they're now like a cosplayer and stuff. The point is, 2020 was a shit show. It caused a lot of the plobs and flobs, the clean plobs and flobs that we see nowadays. That, the ones that ruin fandom in that way, instead of just being gross and ruining fandom. At least the ones that are gross, the plobs, we can hose them off. We can convince them to get some morals and convince them not to be gross and shower and stuff. You can't change a mean girl. Yeah, they're going to be mean and bitter and nasty and bully people to the day they die, unfortunately. I saw that. I don't know if you guys know that little old granny. She's so sweet. She's so hilarious. She is TikTok famous. She's in a nursing home right now. She recently did a video on how it's like $13,000 at the nursing home that she's at, which is crazy. $13,000 a month. But yeah, that granny, she is hilarious. I remember she even talked about how there are mean girls in the nursing home still bullying people. And I'm like, Lord, that just proves you can't change a mean girl. At least with the nasty plobs, we can get them to shower eventually. Like, we can convince them to shower. We can convince them to stop being inappropriate in public with freaking My Little Pony figures. Like, they're capable of change. Incels are capable of change. We've proven that because, we've had, 4 story times now of former incels who've came out and admitted that they have now changed and everything. Like, they're fixable. It's the clean blobs that it's like, we're never going to be able to fix that problem. But I'm going to read you guys a comment I got about a 2020 group, a group chat, that is a prime example of some of the madness that was going on once it blew up. Because once it blew up, there was also a lot of politically correct PC stuff going on, which I am mixed on politically correct because there is a line. So, like, yes, you should not be calling anybody slurs or anything like that. No racism, no sexism, no homophobia, transphobia, that kind of stuff. But there's a line that it starts to cross over where some of the stuff just starts getting a little ridiculous. Like, I had somebody who was upset. I've had people get upset with me whenever I say the word dyke. Now, I am one, is why I get to say it. Just like a black person gets to say the N-word. I have a friend that has got Down syndrome and she says retard all the time. That's another word I use because, once again, I am autistic. So those are words that were used against us growing up, because we were part of these minority communities. And when you're part of that minority community, you're allowed to say those. You are allowed to take those words back. It's not just to say it to be like, oh, haha, look at you. You can't say it and I can. No, it is so that to regain that power and say it back. Like I said, that's why nobody but black people get to say the N-word, because that is them taking that back. Although my family has for years tried to convince me, to the black side of my family, to be clear. And I'm like, do you not see what I am? The one white grandchild. Okay, I'm not saying it. I don't care how many times they go and say like, oh yeah, it's fine. Like, it's fine for you. No. So let me read off. So there's actually a trend going on right now. That's how started all this, like the videos and stuff on it, because there's a bunch of trends of people talking about discords that were above and beyond like this back in 2020 and in 2021. And I have actually had a bunch of people, if you didn't see my Insta story and my TikTok story where I asked people for their craziest Discord surveys 2020. I did a skit on it, and this is the comment that I got that was the epitome of 2020. So it says, I was in a Kik group chat that had a master list of 72 topics or words that you could not be discussed because they were triggers, including things like talking about your family talk, which means just saying you have relatives, because they did clarify, just saying that you have relatives, right? Implications of injuries. So if you were like, oh my gosh, I just stubbed my toe, kicked from the group. Any talk of intelligence levels. So if you basically couldn't say you had good grades or anything like that, because that would, make somebody else get triggered, because they might not get good grades. Any images or mentioning of body weight being less than 200 pounds. So if you weighed less than 200 pounds, you weren't allowed to say anything. But if you were over 200 pounds, you could talk about it, which I actually have a story about a similar one. And any images of utensils or the color red. You couldn't have the color red or even mention the color red because it was considered, a trigger. And they said it was wild and ridiculous and felt like you had to walk on glass and reread every single word you typed. I got a strike for mentioning putting a butter knife to lick jam off of it. Like they got a strike for saying they licked jam off the butter knife. 72 words. 72 words and topics you weren't allowed to say in this kit group and is insane. Because you might quote unquote trigger somebody. Here's the thing is there are needs for trigger warnings in certain things. Like when I talk about which I don't put a trigger warning on this because the whole thing has a trigger warning. I've talked about, it's not for little ears. I've talked about it's uncensored. We talk about ERs, we talk about military, we talk about all the GameStop stuff. Like there's stuff on there. People know when they talk about it. I will sometimes put a triggering if it's going to be a more extreme topic. Like if I'm talking about quick military trigger warning before I say this, if I'm talking about finding my friend's body whenever we were active duty together, and how I have, the uniform that I wore that day that has his blood on it in the back of my closet. Now, I will put a warning for something like that. But I've had people where I will have a video and I'll say, oh, hey, I lost another 5 pounds. I'm super excited, right? I'm super proud of myself. And people will be like, you need to put a trigger warning on this because that could trigger somebody who can't lose weight. And I'm like, bitch, I spent a large portion of my life overweight. I was a little over 200 pounds at only 5'2". That's the big important part is like when you consider my height, because a lot of people are much, much taller than me. So like 200 pounds isn't that big to them, but I've got pictures. I used to get fat shamed all the time. Like the story of my childhood was the song Fat Funny Friend. I didn't get to go to my prom because I graduated high school 3 years early, but I went to homecoming and I had to buy my dress at Lane Bryant because it was the only store that had my size. There are things that do need trigger warnings, but there's also things like, if you're talking about severe grape or something, rape. I don't know why I said grape. I think it's because where I have to say grape on TikTok, my brain glitched out. But there's some things that are just ridiculous. For example, one of the many, and you guys please feel free to keep sending these in to me, because I've now made it a part of the Plob Skit playlist to, reenact these little like crazy Discord stuff from 2020, the cringy stuff within fandom Discords. One of the ones somebody sent in to me was talking about how they got 2 separate strikes. One strike they got was... their first one was about their metabolism. They had talked about how they were they were like getting really tired at work because they weren't allowed to snack at work and they had a really fast metabolism, so they were like constantly getting hungry. And they got a warning because they said, we're body positive in here, and if you are like, they were literally saying by talking about having a fast metabolism, they were body shaming people who didn't, and that could be very triggering for people who didn't have a fast metabolism. Ironically, you were allowed to talk about having a slow metabolism, which made no sense. Like, no, that's some bullshit. They actually ended up getting a second violation, like a second, strike in the Discord server because they posted a selfie in the selfies chat. So they posted a selfie in the selfies chat, and she told me, she said she weighed 125 and she's 5'5", so pretty average build. Not super skinny. She said she was like a size 6, so like, average size. And she got a message letting her know she had a second strike because they were trying to be, and she was like completely covered. She was wearing a t-shirt and jeans. And it was a selfie channel within the server. Like, it was for selfies, and there was all these other people leaving selfies. And she was told she was not allowed to post. She got a strike because she was not allowed to post selfies because she was under 200 pounds, and nobody under 200 pounds was allowed to post selfies in there because it might trigger or make somebody feel bad that they're not the same size as her, and they wanted to be body positive in there, and they wanted to promote body positivity. I'm going to tell you something right now. You are full of shit if you think you are promoting body positivity and you're not including all sizes. Body positivity is for everyone, okay? It doesn't matter if you're a 00 or a size 30. Body positivity means everyone. Yes, that includes skinny people. I have never been to 00, size 0 in my life. But I will never shame somebody for that because I actually care about body positivity. Heck, the other day, like I said, and the last one I did, and like the video I did, with the mental health day, I have, surgery scars. I have stretch mark stuff. I get bloated. Like, I've got pictures of where I've gained like 6 inches around my waist in an hour because I am so swollen from a Crohn's flare. Like, I will go out just like that in a 2-piece string bikini. My ex, who you all know, was 400 pounds when we was like 420 when we dated, and God, how tall was he? 6'2". I have to look at his TikTok or something because I can't remember. I think he has in his bio, and we're still mutuals. He's like 6'2" or something. Big dude, and guess what? He didn't wear a shirt with his swim trunks, and I found it a hell of a lot more sexy for somebody to be confident like that. Plus, that man was like a giant squishmallow. I have dated several plus size men. That's the second reason why nobody believed me when I got married to Brett. People were like, there's no way. They thought, one, they didn't believe me because it was a man. That was a big one. And they knew, I have very, very, very strong preference for women. Like, when I came out as bisexual as a kid, I literally had to come out as bisexual as in liking men because everybody assumed I was a lesbian. Once again, that's why I get to say the word dyke, because I was called it quite a bit as a kid. But the second reason was because he had 6-pack and big muscles at the time. Don't worry, I took care of that 6-pack because he didn't know how to cook or anything for himself. His mom never taught him, and his mom didn't know how to cook either, was part of the problem. She would always order, these healthy stuff from places around. His mom she isn't rich, but she's very upper middle class, and they would always order in and all that stuff. His dad knows how to cook a little bit. His dad's real good with desserts. I'll tell you that right now. The brownies are amazing. But, now he's got a little bit of a belly because I cook everything from scratch. I mean, not everything. Sometimes I'll cook, from a box or something. But mostly I cook everything from scratch. I grew up cooking from scratch. Spent the summers on the farm. I had a lot of different moms, not just my mom, but a lot of different moms too that would teach me, because growing up in poverty, basically it's a little bit like the neighborhood helps raise your kids. Yeah, people legitimately did not believe because he's military. That's why he was so built is eating, eating not the greatest, salads and sandwiches, that kind of stuff, protein stuff, but also working out quite a bit because of the military. But nothing will ever be sexier than somebody who is confident. Just confident, not cocky. Let's be clear on that. Not cocky. I once had a man, during when Magic Mike had just came out. He was so cocky that he tried to do the Magic Mike dance for me, even though I had made it clear I wasn't interested. He then was like, no, I'm gonna make you interested, I'm gonna seduce you, because the freaking movie, there's one scene, right, where the guy seduces the gas station worker chick, and he was like, no, sit down in this chair, and then proceeded to do the most uncomfortable dance I had seen in my entire life. And then he cut his arm open because he fell. Yeah, that was, please, no. There's a difference in confidence and cocky. Please do not be cocky. If you're cocky, no one's going to want to see you're cocky. Some more cringy Discord messages that were sent in to me. Let's get back into that because we are almost at half an hour. Good Lord, I am so sorry. That's what I said. Thursday podcasts are a little bit more chaotic. We're still covering GameStop stories and stuff, but they're more about fandom in general and that kind of stuff. But yeah, so some more that were sent in to me that I haven't got to do skits about yet. One of them oh my gosh, is something that happened quite a bit back then, where if you did the same character somebody else, you would get in trouble by other people. And so that, yeah, like I said, people would harass you and stuff, even though these are big characters, thousands of people cosplay. You'll see like certain characters, like My Hero Academia especially, you would see, like I said, oh gosh, people are still. I had somebody the other day once again discover the ad that I did for. I will never live that down because it is still on their official verified game page on TikTok. Where I did the Inko Midoriya. I showed somebody that the other day too because somebody had messaged me about it, and I was showing a friend in real life, and they were like, "Oh, but at least you got paid." And I'm like, not enough to be still dealing with this 5 years later. People talking about how cringy it was. It was a paycheck, okay? It's like that audio on TikTok. It's like, it was a job. It was, it was a paycheck. You would do it too for a check. But yes, so that was a pretty common thing to happen. And this person's Discord apparently took it to a whole nother level because they were in a Discord chat for cosplay, and they sent me a screenshot of this too, of this particular chat, because they took a screenshot back then. It was October of 2020. They had decided they were going to do a particular cosplay, and they had just ordered all of the stuff for a Deku cosplay. Keep in mind, there was literally like, I don't know, 700 people cosplaying Deku on TikTok at this time. He was so popular. Like, if you search Deku cosplay, you will find so many. Also, there's like 7 different Deku TikTok incidents for back then, because TikTok, like if you look up 2020 TikTok incidents, they'll have like compilations of them. And there's always seems to be in almost every single one a Deku cosplayer doing something cringy. One in particular I'm going to talk about here in a second. But the Discord message was, they had commented saying, they had not commented, sorry, messaged in the Discord chat saying, "Hey, I just ordered everything for my Deku cosplay. I'm so excited for this." And somebody in the Discord responded saying, "Oh my gosh, I've always wanted to cosplay Deku. It is my dream to cosplay Deku. He's my favorite character." All right. Well, a few days later, they've gotten all their cosplay stuff, and they've made some content, and they've posted it, and they get a Discord message from the moderator saying, "Hey, we're going to have to give you a warning and next time kick you out. And if you don't do this, we're going to kick you out either way." But they said, yeah, so since that person, this complete stranger on the internet that you only freaking know in this Discord, said that was their dream cosplay, and you still cosplayed as them and posted it on TikTok, yeah, unless you remove all of those videos, we're going to have to remove you. And even if you do remove all of those videos, we're going to have to add a strike to you. And if you if you do anything again like this, we're going to have to remove you, because that was super disrespectful to continue to do that cosplay after this person said that was their dream cosplay and they'd always wanted to do it. They just hadn't gotten a chance yet. I had to take a pause for a second. I apologize because I got a message, which I'm going to read to you guys here in a second. It's actually kind of funny. But yeah, that's actually insane. That is literally insane, because this person told them, "I just purchased all of this stuff. It's on the way." And the other person was just like, "Oh, that's my dream cosplay. That's somebody I've always wanted to cosplay because he's my favorite character." And you're going to say that it's rude that they continued to cosplay the cosplay they paid for and bought and told you? Also, once again, there are hundreds of Deku cosplayers, probably over 1,000 in the US, just, hundreds on TikTok alone. Because once again, not every cosplayer is on TikTok. The cosplay community is massive. Also, remember, bullies and bad people will tell you it's small when it's not. They'll even use manipulation techniques and stuff to try to get you to think that it's tiny, to lower you into bad situations and bully you and stuff. So please don't ever fall for that. Just numbers, just common sense tells you that, because of the millions of people that go to cons every single year just in America alone, and more than half cosplay statistically. So there's lots. It's a large community. The point is, there is no world where you should be basically being like, oh, you're a bad person for this, just because you cosplayed a very, very, very popular character that plenty of other people did because someone else wanted to do it. Like, if you don't know, I'm currently saving up so that I can get my doctorate, and I'm going to be, because I don't want any college debt, and I've run out of scholarships and GI Bill, because I double majored for my bachelor's twice, and I double majored for my master's too. So I got a lot of education. I also got a lot of certificates and stuff too. That's why people make fun of me for being that idiot that was like, let me go enlisted first, even though I was in the college ROTC program, only needed 1 semester left, and was like, oh no, let me be enlisted first, then do green to gold. That way I'll be a little better leader because I'll have been, enlisted first. Yeah, that was the stupidest decision of my life because I got so freaking injured in that combat unit. But imagine, since I'm trying to get a doctorate, somebody else goes and gets a doctorate in mental health or psychology, and I go, oh, you're a terrible, bad person because I said I wanted to do that, and now you're doing it? You're a horrible monster for that because I told you that was my dream and I was going to be getting it done. Yeah, you getting it first. After you just told me that you were already in your last semester of getting it. Yeah, you're a monster. You're a bad person. See how ridiculous that sounds? See how ridiculous? Sadly, I still see stuff like this in the cosplay community too. Like there's it's not anywhere near as bad as it was back then. Because, like I said, a lot of people fell off of cosplay once COVID was over. Once things started to get back to normal, like 2023, 2024, a lot of people started falling off cosplay. They weren't interested anymore. But I don't mean to gatekeep, but if you've never seen a show or the game that you're cosplaying from, that's another thing I think is like weird to do, because there was a point during all of that COVID madness, people were literally, if it started to trend, they would rush to go buy the cosplay, and then they would do videos and they would do audios that made no damn sense. It made no dang sense at all for the character. Like, it would be a like murderous villain that loves to like slash people and just torture people like a super bad guy, right? And they would do like these loving audios because the audio was popular. They would just cosplay the most popular character that was trending on TikTok, and then they would like do whatever audio was trending, and it wouldn't make any darn sense. It sadly became like really popular to do that, and most of the people were getting a lot of followers off of it because they were the people that were getting followers off of doing that were traditionally attractive people. They were just, influencer style. They were traditionally attractive people. But then other people would try to do it, and if they weren't traditionally attractive, they would just get tons of hate comments. It was super hypocritical. It was a very pretty privilege issue because even like, so the ones that were traditionally attractive, they would do it, and then people would be like, oh, I would love to see this character be sweet and nice. I'm sure they secretly have a sweet and nice side. But then if a non-traditionally attractive person tried to do the same thing to try to get views and stuff, they would get a bunch of hate comments being like, oh, this character doesn't even do all that. That doesn't make any sense for this character. Which, I mean, yeah, it's true, but you also shouldn't bully people about it. It is weird to do, but you shouldn't bully people over it. Just, they're over here wasting money buying a new cosplay every like 3 days. They also wouldn't even do the cosplay again. Like, once it stopped trending, they wouldn't make any more content in it, which I hated. I hate that became a thing, because there was also people who really did like the character. They would do accurate cosplays of it because they'd get excited because, it's popular right now, so let me do it. But then they would never cosplay it again, and it sucked because they were like really good at it. They would be, doing the perfect audios that would go with canon and fan theory. They would do skits. They were amazing. And then when it stopped being popular, they wouldn't do it anymore. I'm like, hey, what happened? Like, who cares if it's trending? Like, I am addicted to your storyline on this skit because it's great. Like, there was one, gosh, that was another thing that drives me nuts that I still see to this day. I got a freaking annoying rude comment the other day where people were saying if you were an adult and you cosplayed a character that was a teenager, you were automatically a pedophile. And I'm like, that's not a pedophile. You are also taking away from the seriousness of this issue. You should not be. No, fuck you. You are literally causing issues. Now it's different if it's somebody actually doing like pornography. Like there was Eri from My Hero Academia, who is like 5 or 6, and somebody made a porn simulator of her. It was on Pornhub in ads, is how I ended up discovering it, because I was on the hub, trying to. Let's not talk about it. I was trying. You know what? I'll admit it. I was listening to a men whimpering audio, okay, of a guy getting pegged. I have no shame. And there was literally an ad right above it, that was for that simulator, and it was literally Eri as a 5-year-old girl, an anime girl. And it was like it was like, oh, come play, and you can like pretend to fuck her. It was disgusting. I actually made a TikTok about it. That actually happened the night before I got to speak to the House of Representatives with that group, where I was the statistics specialist for it, and it was so fucking awkward because I'm sitting in this super nice fancy hotel. I literally have a security guard outside of my room, getting ready to speak to the House of Representatives the next day. I was just trying to, relax myself, de-stress before this serious day. And I had to make a video while in the hotel room that's still up, talking about that website and telling people, hey, please go report this. And we were all mass reporting it because it was child porn. It was technically at the time it was legal because it was fictional and it was hentai, but nowadays it luckily they made it so that is also now illegal in most states. But just cosplaying a character does not make you a pedophile. Like, just that's so fucking stupid. Like, there was like one guy was 21 and he cosplayed as Naruto, who, by the way, in Boruto becomes an adult. But he was cosplaying as Naruto, and he had like the spiky hair instead of the buzz cut thing that he has as an adult. And they were calling him a pedophile for it, just for cosplay. He wasn't doing anything dirty. He was doing like I'm gonna be the next Hokage and like regular Naruto audios, and people were going after this dude at one point, to the point where I don't know if he deleted his account or what happened, but I know it like went private for a while, and then I don't think he ever came back. And I still see people who will say shit like that to this day, and it's the stupidest fucking thing ever. Like when those actual pedophile supporter group, because I got a comment about this the other day, that actual pedophile supporting group, that my little hate group, the one that's dating a registered sex offender and shit, was trying to slander me and like make shit up about me. They showed this video of me from 2020 where I had dressed up as Bakugo as a dad, which, by the way, if you actually listen to anything in the My Hero series, you know that all of it is a flashback. It is being told as they are adults now, like grown adults. It even says at the very beginning, it says, this is the story of how I became, like, it is all a flashback, right? So a lot of us who actually bothered to pay attention to the series and know that it's all a flashback had made these like OC characters where we were them as like dads and adults and just being silly and making funny dad jokes. Because there's this like whole headcanon where like Bakugo later on when he gets older, he's he makes a lot of corny dad jokes because his dad is super sweet, even though he acts more like his mom in the series. Like that he calms down and chills out, and he makes like really corny dad jokes and is always embarrassing his kids. And that's what I dressed up as. I dressed up as that. Like a lot of people were dressing up as like Kirishima as a dad, and I almost said Naruto, but Deku as a dad, stuff like that. And I had that fucking pedophile supporter sicko tried to like show that clip and was like, look, they're a predator because they dressed up as Bakugo as a dad. Bakugo is a teenager. First of all, no, he's not. He is literally a fucking adult. If you got more than half a brain cell, it actually mentions that a lot throughout the series, how it's all a flashback and how they're all now fucking adults. So technically I'm dressed up as canon current day Bakugo. But Naruto is a prime example of that too. Like where they have Boruto where they're adults and become parents. That was basically what people were doing, is we were all doing like because Boruto was real popular at the time, we were basically doing that version of My Hero, and hoping that one day we get something like that where they're showing their current modern day, them having kids and stuff. Although I highly doubt we will ever get something like that, because there are a lot of toxic fans who, that's another thing that happened back in 2020 in fandom. There was a lot of fucking parasocial relationship type motherfuckers who were sending Horikoshi, who is, the writer, the writer of My Hero, death threats and shit, over really dumb stuff. If the series, even though like the manga was out before this, the manga's always ahead of the anime, but they were sending Horikoshi death threats and shit. Like one time he had made a tweet about Deku and Uchako being together, and people were sending him death threats. I'm pretty sure he had to move at one point. I know he did have to get security because people, and it was all Americans, by the way. Well, it was like 90% Americans and like, I think 1% Canadians and 1% or like 5% people in the UK. But it was like majority Americans, of course, because the people in Japan had no problem with it because they're used to manga and don't act like sociopaths about it. But they were sending him all kinds of death threats because he had said that, and everyone was like, no, Deku's gay because we want him to be gay, and yaoi and blah blah blah, and here he's with Bakugo or he's with Todoroki or whatever. But they were sending him threats because of the comment about Uchako, just because it meant that he was straight, which was insane. And it's so ironic because My Hero fandom, I have never seen, like, even with Homestuck and stuff, I've never seen a fan base go so hard after a writer of a series. Like, holy shit. But yeah, they were going after that poor man super hard. So I don't think we will ever, sadly, I don't think we'll ever get like a spin-off like we did with Naruto. Because yeah, the creators of Naruto got some shit for some stuff, but they were never attacked the way Horikoshi was. I actually watched a interview that had captions because it was in Japan of whenever they were talking about this, and Japan itself was saying Horikoshi was one of the most attacked writers they had ever seen, like manga writers, series writers. And, keep in mind, manga and anime are from Japan. They are the origin. They had it long before US even had translations and dubs and studios to do that. It's their culture. And even they were like, yeah, we've never seen anything like this, like the way Horikoshi was being attacked. It was a mixture of the pandemic peak, but it also just insane fans, because it's bad when Japan itself is like, oh yeah, this is a shit show. What the fuck is wrong with you fuckers? It's also kind of a prime example of the peak of fandom, like hitting like in all of that madness rush in 2020, because after all of that insane shit, right? Especially with the, that they're gay. I've decided Deku's gay and he's going to get with Bakugo, or he's going to get with Todoroki, or, whoever they fucking paired him with. Todoroki and Bakugo were the main ones people were arguing about. And a lot of them were grown adults arguing this, which is stupid. But if you haven't seen, spoiler alert, Spinneraki is canon. Spinner and, Shigaraki is canon, not just because, the stuff they say in the series towards the end, but Horikoshi himself has confirmed that they were more than friends, which is what makes the ending of the show super. He's already sad enough, but like Tim makes it 10 times sadder knowing that was canon. But because that didn't come out till recently, there was no big deal around it. The series was begging to make, have a canon gay character. But now that the peak of everything, it's now 2025. Well, actually, I think it was confirmed in December 2024. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. But like, either way, since the rush was over, suddenly, all those people were sending him death threats before for not having, a gay character. He makes a gay character, and suddenly none of them are around anymore because they were just, during COVID. I've literally seen dozens of videos, because there's like a trend going on right now. I was a kid stuck in my room trend of people talking about how a lot of them thought they were trans and non-binary and stuff during COVID, and now they're not. And like, and they say, oh, it's because I was a kid stuck in my room. But they're saying, which that's problematic for a whole other reason. We ain't got time on this episode to cover like that whole scenario and like how insane that has been, because it makes it look like there's way more detransitioners than there actually are. But there's also people who are doing that trend to gaming and anime and cosplay and being like, oh, it'll say something like, oh, remember back in 2020 when you were super into cosplay, or remember when you were super into Magic the Gathering, or super into animes and stuff. And I've even seen people who will make fun of people for still being into anime. Like, it's going right back to the bullying, and it sucks, because it's like, can we just not, can we have like a good middle ground where we're not making fun of nerds who are into gaming and anime and stuff, but we're also not letting the mean people come in and be assholes? Because gaming fandom sees that quite a bit too, where during the peak everybody was getting into gaming. Oh gosh, remember the boom with Animal Crossing? That was wild. But everybody getting into gaming and all these video games and stuff, and rushing to buy the PS5 and all that. Like, even Switches were sometimes being sold out too, even though the Switch had been out for a while at that point. It's just because people stuck with COVID. There are people who will be like, ew. I saw this one woman who, she was like 27 or something, and she was doing this video being like, I just think it's really cringy, all of you people that are still into gaming and anime and cosplay, because she was she had like 500,000 followers or something like that. And from what I was reading, she got popular off of being traditionally attractive and doing cosplay. And she had stopped doing it a couple years ago, apparently, and was still getting all these requests. And so she had done a video response to a comment and was like, yeah, it's so cringy, like, everybody that still does that. I grew up, that's why I don't play video games or cosplay anymore. And like, I saw some clips from when she literally was streaming video games and making all of this money off of it, while looking, traditionally attractive and cosplay, would stream video games and stuff all day, like Among Us and everything, back during the pandemic. And then now that nobody, it's not as popular and trendy anymore, she stopped, and then she was mad that she wasn't getting as many views and making a bunch of money as before. And it's like, well, girl, you stopped doing what everybody was following you for. Like, yeah, I don't have that many cosplay videos that I've done recently, but I mostly did talking videos about cosplay and gaming and fandom and stuff like that I've done for years, or my ER stories or my kink stories. I still do all of those. I may not do cosplay as much, even though I'm still going to cons and cosplaying. I just don't get around to making a lot of the content. I still have videos from MomoCon last year that I have not got a chance to post. It's like from like Kim Possible and stuff, because I did Shigo from Kim Possible last year for the rave, and I've got some like other ones that I did too. So I still do that stuff. I just haven't gotten around to the content, and I've been doing my story types of things that I've done my whole time on social media. But when we moved back to Texas, I just didn't have a setup anymore like I had before. So it's a lot of work and time and trying to get, find a spot to film. But for people whose entire content was cosplay and gaming, and then you stopped doing it because you quote unquote grew out of it, which I think is a stupid thing to say. Gaming and stuff isn't, it's all ages. But yeah, that's why they fell off. But then they're getting mad and like bullying people about it and being like, you need to grow up and blah blah blah. And it's like, no, that's not the case. Any age can enjoy this stuff. I almost forgot to tell you guys the message that I said I was going to tell you guys about earlier, that I got a little while ago. So they're an idiot. They're an idiot. They are a problem person that I know they're going to start a lot of drama if I unmutual them. So I will admit I have not unmutualed them, and I just kind of, distance myself from them because I don't want to deal with all of that. Because I've noticed every time somebody unmutuals them or stops being friends with them, they make 500 freaking posts and stuff, and they go around trying to lie and start drama with everybody that's cut them off. So I'm like, I don't want to have to deal with that. So I just, I stay mutuals with them. The problem is, they make comments on my videos. Some of you guys have actually interacted with this person, that are really fucking stupid. They are a grown adult that is really fucking stupid. And I'm not just talking about, they're not educated. I mean, willful ignorance. There was a point where they had made a really dumb comment on a gaming video, basically promoting plobs and plob behavior. And they were like, somebody sweats it off. It's not their fault. And people were like, yeah, they can put more deodorant on is the problem. Yeah, it turns out I actually found out that one of their partners, because they have multiple, is a plob who only showers once a week. Ugh. But they recently left a dumb comment on a furry the video where I was asking, people for advice to help my friend's daughter who, just came out as a furry. And, I had very specified what I was looking for, and they commented something that very clearly was not what I was looking for. And a couple of people responded and was like, hey, so can you maybe you should watch the whole video because what you're saying doesn't fucking make any sense. It's not related to it. Don't worry. It's actually the exact opposite of what because I specifically asked for tips, advice, and educators and stuff because this is a minor, and they were recommending an adult and stuff that the adult literally has 18 plus on their page. Why are you recommending adults with 18 plus on their page that also aren't making any educational content? I had a few people that recommended adults like that too, and I was like, dude, what the fuck? Did you not listen to a damn word I said? Well, apparently some other people have responded to their comments, and they are still being still recommending this, giving bad recommendations is the point. So somebody just sent me a message request and was like, who the fuck is that moron in your fucking thing? Even I can see that even you clarified what you were asking for, and that they are still continuing to respond with bad advice. And the person is apparently a furry themselves, and they were like, please don't think that, they literally said, please don't think that the furry community is anything like who these people are recommending. And also they wanted to let me know that some of those people they recommend are well known for not being safe adults. So I was laughing. That's why I was laughing earlier about that, because I just thought it was ironic as hell, because I am trying to find a way to tell them, I already know this person is a fucking moron and is willfully ignorant and constantly does this. This is consistently a problem. I don't want to sound like a pussy by not, unmutualing them. I'm always telling people, don't be afraid to block people and stuff. And usually that's how I am. I just block idiots and whatnot. But because of the personal relationship with this person, because I would not still consider us friends, but I was friends with them for a short bit, because I didn't know about it. And then I started hanging out with them, and I'm like, you really are a moron, but also you're really cocky about it. They will act like they know, if you're like, hey, so that's, bad or wrong, and you try to be polite about it, I'll be like, no, I'm still right. They act like if they say it enough times, it's gonna make it so that it's true, but that's just not how that works. You can say that the sky is, freaking yellow 24/7, all you want. You can say it 100 times, but it's still not going to make it true. The sky's still not going to be yellow 24/7. But that's kind of the attitude that they have with stuff. Speaking of, I had somebody else that, oh my gosh, I just gave up on this person, having this conversation, because another comment that I got on the furry was from somebody I know, and they had recommended a company. And I had explained once again that we were not buying pre-made stuff. Even though I said it about 50 times in the video, I said once again, she cannot afford to buy pre-made stuff, and the site that they recommended was expensive. It was $120 for something that we had already made for $35, and I checked the company website and saw what company they were getting their supplies from and what the name brand fur was, and it's literally the exact same fur. It cost us $35 in supplies and took about 4 hours to make. And ironically, I was tempted to send them a picture of it too, because it looks almost exactly like the ones that they have on their site. And I kept trying to explain, hey, so that's expensive. And they're like, no, it's not expensive. And I was like, they were saying that they got stuff from there. I'm like, okay, well, can you send me the link of where you're finding the non-expensive stuff on their site? Because all I'm seeing is the $120 one. And they were like, no, it's the site. And they just kept sending me the same link. And I'm like, buddy, what part of, yes, it is, I can show you the receipts. We made this exact item for $35. And as I explained in the video, she cannot afford, she's a child, she cannot afford this expensive stuff. And she's like, no, it's not expensive because I've bought from them. I'm buddies with them. And I'm like, okay, so you're just trying to promote your friend and are refusing to accept the fact that it's expensive. Because, if it takes $35 in supplies and it's a 4-hour process, I understand know your worth and, charge what you think you're worth. And there's, plenty of people who are going to spend $120 so they don't have to make it. But like, once again, as I said about 100 times in the video, and as I have explained to you multiple times, we're not buying this 120. It is not cheap, as you've said. That is expensive to pay, 5 times the price. Please stop recommending it. So I just ended up just liking their last message and was like, nah, I'm not going to bother. There's no point. There's no point because you're not listening. You're not understanding. You are, I don't know if it's like a privilege thing where you think that's not expensive, but to normal people, it is expensive. Which, yeah, this person does great work. That's perfectly fine. Do whatever you want, but charge whatever you think you're worth. But, please understand that some people are truly poor. Not everybody has the privilege. Like, I've had that conversation with a lot of people within fandom space. I've had people who will buy, like, they're buying the Switch 2 and stuff, and they'll be like, oh, it's not that expensive, considering all the features it has and everything. And I'm like, it's like $800. That's expensive to normal people. That is, to just randomly spend $800 on a Switch 2. That's a lot of money. Heck, even people that can afford it, like, technically I could afford to go get it, but I'm not going to because I have other priorities. It always blows my mind meeting people within fandom space that have, rich privilege, upper class, privilege, whatever, that have good money and don't understand that games and shit are expensive. I once had somebody at GameStop, like, remember they bought a bunch of new games that had been released at the same time. There's like 4 of them. And they were like, and their friend was talking about how they really wanted this one game, but they couldn't afford it. So was asking if they could come play it at their house at some point. And the person was like, oh, the games are really not that expensive. They're only $60 to buy a brand new game. That's a lot of money for a new game. Like, dude, like, how do you not? And they were like, no, because, if you add up all the game time you're going to play on it and all the features it has, like, it's worth it. Okay, worth it doesn't change the fact that it's expensive, sir. I just watched the look on their friend's face. They were the friend, like, clearly these were 2 people in different economic classes, and he just eventually gave up. He was just like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever, buddy. I'm still not gonna buy it, but like, sure, whatever. $60 totally isn't a lot of money for a game when it is. That's kind of what I had with that person that was, recommending the links that the person, like, I just was like, okay, sure, whatever, buddy. Because once again, spending $35, making something the exact same material and everything as something that would be $120 plus shipping to buy, that's a big price difference. I am happy for you if you have the privilege to do stuff like that and, buy these pre-made things, but not everybody has that. I am making this podcast a little bit longer. If you're wondering how we're over an hour. Over a minute. Yeah, we're way over a minute. We're at 1 hour and 2 minutes right now. But the reason I'm making this a little bit longer is because a couple of the ones that I make while I am gone, since I will be on a little bit of a time crunch, will only be like 45 minutes. Because I am going to still be making them while I'm out of town, doing the plop stories and everything, on TikTok also. So just a heads up, this one is going to be a little bit longer. I probably should have said that at the end. That way I'm still making up for that time. There'll still be, like if I go over on this one, it'll make up for the 45-minute one. Speaking of plobs, I don't know if this, oh God, you know what? We're just going to tell it. I was going to say, I don't know if this is morally right to tell, because usually I feel like with the dominatrix stuff that I do on the side to save up for my PhD, and I've had people are like, why don't you put the TikTok money towards that? And I'm like, no, the TikTok money will forever and always go to the domestic violence shelter. But usually I maintain complete privacy on there, but there is there was something that I got a request for that I have got to tell you guys about. I will not give this person's name or anything, but we got to talk about this one. So here's the thing. With my requests, I do have a lot of hard boundaries. Now, I know that there are creators out there like Bonnie Blue who will basically film anything that if the price is high enough. There's the one lady who I stitched the other day who stuck a honey freaking stick up there to get out her freaking discharge and stuff so that she could sell it. And she also is known for sticking a butter churner, a physical butter churner, up her ass in a Logan's bathroom. Sorry, Texas Roadhouse bathroom. That's what it was. She used Texas Roadhouse butter and stuck it up her ass in the Texas Roadhouse. Yeah, that's a don't look that up if you're easily grossed out. I have never watched the video. I am aware of it. I have seen her story time. I follow her because some of the stuff that she says is hilarious. Like I try not to think about the fact that she actually does the stuff. But I still thought it was like, it's funny. But yes, there's creators out there that will do just about anything. But I have a lot of hard boundaries. If it is something that is a no harm, no foul, I will do it, even if I'm not into it. No harm, no foul is, for example, now I am into spanking men, but like, that's not what I'm just going to use it as an example though. So for example, if someone was wanting me to spank them, but I wasn't into spanking, I would still do it because it's a no harm, no foul. It's not hurting me to do that. Now, the other side of it is, if I wasn't into getting spanked and somebody wanted to spank me, that is doing harm to me. So that wouldn't count as a no harm, no foul. I hope that explains it. I apologize for the TMI. But I have some hard boundaries on there. If it's no harm, no foul, I usually don't mind filming it. But I do have, unless it's like some sicko pedo shit, hell no. That will never happen. But I actually got a story time about exposing a pedophile, but because of a weird request. But there was a request related to gaming and Dami work that I got this week that made me want to vomit. I'm not very as active as I used to be on there. Because it's just time. So I was trying to catch up on custom requests, and like I said, I will turn them down. I also don't charge for messaging on there or anything like that. I think it's weird when like people do that, to charge for messaging. Like it's weird. Like I'm not talking about like messaging as in like you having a sexting conversation. I'm talking about just regular messaging, like on OnlyFans. People there's models who will set it as like you have to pay like sorry, I hiccuped. Like I swear this is like the 5th time I've had a podcast and I've got hiccups. But they'll charge like $5 or sometimes even $20 to send any messages. So if you're just trying to say, hey, can I do a message or can I do a request, you have to pay $20 just to send that question. And then however much it costs you, and some of them will get real scammy about it. They'll purposely, you'll send you'll say, yes, I'm accepting requests, and then they'll pay again to say, okay, this is what I want. And then that model will ask questions. Sometimes they'll even particularly act like they're dumb and be like, oh, you requested this, let me ask a question to make it seem like I don't understand, being like, oh, so you want this? That way the person is forced into paying once again, so that they have to keep paying for even more messages so they can get even more money out of just a follow request, instead of it being like 2-3 messages that end up being like 15, and that's all that extra money they've now made off the person. I think that's immoral. I think that's scammy. I don't agree with doing stuff like that. So anyways, guy sends me a message and he's like, are you doing requests? And I'm like, yes. And you can see like, here's a picture of, how much, things often cost. So you have an estimation, like, so you can decide, because I think that's important too, like to, give them an estimation. I have like basically it's like a menu, and it's like, for a stepping on you video, it costs this much per minute, or like this much for that if you want a degrading audio, that kind of stuff. I send him that. I send him the list of like, all the outfits and whatnot I have, that kind of stuff. And he sends me back even though on all of this, it also has like all the strong hard limits. He was offering to pay extra if I crossed that boundary. And I wanted to puke just reading the message, and it was going to be a fuck, hell, no amount of money in the world. Also, for context to how we got to this point, because I'm about to tell you what the request was, he saw the Skittles video. The video of me talking about, that guy asking me to fart Skittles out of my ass in the middle of the grocery store, it's not the grocery store, the gas station. That crackhead dude that was shirtless and was like, I'd like to eat those Skittles out of your ass and blah, blah, blah. I had made a couple of jokes in the comments. People were like, hey, $20, what, making a joke, saying I should have done it. And somebody had said, like, everybody has their price. And I had jokingly said, for $20,000, I would let that man eat Skittles out of my ass if he gave me $20,000 cash up front. I was clearly joking. Bro, I'm autistic and barely understand sarcasm half the time. And even I was clearly joking. Well, this guy, apparently he is a frequent Magic the Gathering player. And he apparently has lost many, many times to someone who plays a Slifer deck. Oh my god, I just said Slifer deck. I meant Snake deck. Sorry, I'm thinking Yu-Gi-Oh! But no, he's a Magic the Gathering player, and he has been constantly losing, apparently, to this one guy in the card shop that plays a Snake-themed deck, not a Slifer deck. I'm so dumb. And he has been getting very upset about it. And he saw my video about how, like, everybody has a price, right? And he wanted me to film a video of me sticking, first of all, I don't even do that kind of, I don't stick random fucking shit up my ass. That is a very clear, it is a dummy page. What the fuck do you mean you want me to stick a fucking... He wanted me to stick. He wanted me to he was going to pay for the card too. He wanted me to go to a local card shop and buy the particular card, Commander card that this guy uses because they're playing Commander. And then he wanted me to stick it up my ass and film me shitting it out. And then he wanted me to push it out. And then he wanted me to shit all over the card. I don't even know what to say about that. That was a hard fucking no. He had initially offered me to he wanted to pay for the card, and then he offered me $100. And I was like, fuck no. There's no amount of money in the world that's going to get me to do that shit. I was like, maybe, I even recommended him the one chick that stuck a butter churn. I was like, maybe you can get her. She charges a lot more money, but like, maybe you can get her to do it. But I'm not sticking no random shit up my ass. I'm also not shitting on a random Magic the Gathering card. What the fuck? Like, could you imagine me going into fucking card shop and being like, hey, so I need to buy this particular Magic card so I can shit on it and shove it up my ass for some crazy dude. He then upped his price and offered $200. Once again, I'm not doing this. He also was like, well, I'll pay you $500 if you do it while dressed as Diva, because I have a Diva cosplay. Actually, I have like 3 different ones because I have different skins and themed Diva cosplays. I, once again, was like, fuck no, I'm not doing this. And also, if you don't know, Diva is from Overwatch. I'm not talking about, like, a Diva. I'm talking about Diva. Dude ended up getting pissy with me and said that I wasn't a real Dommy because I wouldn't do this. And, yeah, he unsubscribed. I mean, I still get the money for the whole month, but, like, he unsubscribed. I don't know what the fuck this is wrong with that plob, but that might be the most insane request I've ever seen on my page. I mean, I've heard even crazier ones from like other OF people, but like, what the fuck do you mean you want me to shove a Magic card on my ass? Like, sir, get a fucking light. That is hell no. Also, how the fuck do you think that's gonna make it better? Like, how do you think that's gonna make you be able to win or something? Like, what was the point in that? What was the point? I understand that you're upset that you keep losing to this guy with a snake deck, but like, how is that going to make you a better player? How is that going to make you stop losing to the guy? I am going to go ahead and end on that note. I feel like I've traumatized you guys enough in the last hour and 13 minutes or whatever. But as always, a reminder to make sure that you are hydrating, make sure you are using sunblock. Everybody needs to use sunblock. As we discussed on Monday, everybody needs to use sunblock. It is really hot out, so make sure you're hydrating. Don't ever drink and drive. Don't text and drive. Don't add to the population. Don't subtract from the population, as my old commander used to say. Which, I mean, unless you're trying to add to the population, then I hope that goes well for you. But, don't take from the population. I would make a joke about, unless it's like a pedophile, then, maybe you don't get yourself caught. But like, I don't want to be legally liable, so that's a joke. I always say if the Death Note thing ever became real, I would totally take one and make the world a better place real quick by just like going onto the sex offender registry site and like all of those sickos that touch little kids. I just like write all of it. I write really, real tiny. That way I could fit them all on there. And I've like thought that out too on how I would make sure I'd be safe about it because I put like instant, because if you've never seen Death Note, they die from a heart attack automatically if you don't put something. Well, not automatically, it takes a couple minutes, but still, like, I would like make sure I put like "Win Home Alone" or something. That way, they wouldn't like it wouldn't be a bunch of people that were like driving and cause a car wreck or hurt anybody else. Remember also that every body is a bikini body, is a swim trunks with no shirt body. Don't be out here overheating yourself or being scared to go out without a shirt on and just swim trunks, or scared to wear a two-piece because you're like, if you like the bathing suit, you wear the bathing suit how it's intended to be worn. That does not mean cover up with a shirt or a robe unless, that's something that's going to make you more comfortable. There's some people who genuinely like one pieces or whatever because they prefer it. But if you are only covering up because you think that your body is not perfect, fuck everyone who makes you feel that way. I mean, don't literally fuck anyone that makes you feel that way. Please don't do that. Don't fuck somebody that doesn't deserve to be fucked by you. Or fuck you. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Enjoy your summer. Don't feel any shame. Have fun. Be safe. And as always, I am a Kindle with interchangeable accessories for their pleasure.